The faint click of the front door unlocking at dawn was all the proof I needed for what had haunted me for weeks. The clock glowed 6:03 a.m. on the wall, the soft orange light of sunrise slipping through the blinds. I sat alone in the living room, the letter already written, folded neatly on the dining table. My hands shook, not from doubt, but from knowing the words I had written marked the end of everything I believed my marriage stood for. I didn't face her. Not yet. I just sat there, chest tight, jaw clenched, listening to her soft footsteps and the sound of her heels sliding off near the door. She assumed I was asleep. She assumed her excuses could wait until later. But I was done with lies. The first cracks had already formed. Her name is Lena. We'd been married 7 years. She was the type of woman whose laugh lit up an entire room, whose words made people lean closer. For most of our marriage, I thought I was the man lucky enough to have earned that love. But 3 months ago, I started to see the shift. The way her phone never left her grip, the late nights bleeding into mornings, the work events she swore by. The sudden fixation on her looks, new dresses, manicured nails, gym sessions that had nothing to do with me. And then there was her smile, once soft, tender, and mine alone, now rehearsed in the mirror before she left the house. I wanted to believe I was imagining it. God, I wanted to believe it was a mistake. The truth showed itself one night when she stumbled home drunk, too drunk to keep her story straight. I stayed late with the team, she slurred, kicking off her shoes, collapsing on the couch. But from her purse, half spilled across the floor, slid a receipt for a table for 2 at a restaurant she once told me was too romantic, unless it was for an anniversary. She hadn't been with coworkers. She hadn't been with friends. That was the first crack in my chest, the fracture of trust that would later break me. I played along for weeks. Pretended not to notice the lipstick smudges wiped hastily from her mouth when she walked in. Pretended not to smell the cologne that wasn't mine clinging to her dress. I studied her carefully, the way you study a stranger living in your home. Every lie grew sharper, more rehearsed. Traffic was horrible. We had to stay for drinks. I crashed at Sarah's after the meeting. It was too late to drive. And every time she said it, she looked at me with those same eyes that once swore forever. I wondered if she could see me unraveling. The breaking point came the night before it all ended. She called at midnight. "Don't wake up," she said casually, music thundering in the background. "We're celebrating the new project. I'll probably be home late." But it wasn't her words that broke me. It was what I heard before she hung up, a man's voice low and close. "Come on, baby. They can wait." And then her laugh. The laugh that once belonged only to me. She didn't even mute the call. I stared at the phone in my hand, my whole body shaking with something between rage and grief. That was when I realized I couldn't keep pretending. That was when I wrote the letter. I didn't yell. I didn't beg. I didn't scream. I just sat at the table, pen in hand, and let the words spill like blood from a wound. "Lena, I've known for a while. You don't have to explain anymore. The late nights, the lies, the silence. It all makes sense now. I loved you more than I thought possible. I believed we were forever. But forever doesn't come home at 6 in the morning smelling like someone else. Forever doesn't look their husband in the eye and lie. By the time you read this, I'll be gone. I'm not going to fight or humiliate you. I'm just taking back what's left of me. Don't call. Don't follow. We're finished." I signed only my name, Ethan. At 6:03 a.m., she walked through the door. I stayed in the shadows of the hallway, heart pounding as she yawned, tossed her purse onto the couch, and drifted toward the kitchen. She saw the note instantly. Her fingers trembled as she reached for it, confusion on her face. She opened it, her lips moving silently as her eyes scanned the page. Her knees weakened. She gripped the table for balance, her mouth falling open, her chest rising and falling as if the words had stolen the air from her lungs. "Ethan," she whispered into the empty room. I should have left then, slipped out the back, let her think I was already gone. But I couldn't. I needed to see it the moment she realized the damage she had caused. Her hands shook as she pressed the letter to her chest, tears filling her eyes. She looked around like a child lost in a crowd. "Ethan," she said again, louder, voice cracking. For one twisted second, I almost stepped out. I almost let her see me, almost let her beg. But then I remembered the voice on the phone, the laughter, the scent of someone else on her. So instead, I turned and walked quietly out the back door, leaving her alone with the silence and the truth. I drove aimlessly for hours as the sun climbed higher, the weight in my chest pressing heavier with each mile. I thought leaving would feel like freedom. Instead, it felt like mourning. Because here's the thing no one tells you about betrayal. It doesn't just destroy the relationship. It destroys the version of yourself that believed in love without question. I wasn't just losing her. I was losing the man who once trusted her promises. My phone buzzed endlessly. Her name again and again. Texts piling up. "Please, Ethan, come back."
Sorry.
I messed up. I didn't mean for it to go this far. You're my husband. Please don't do this. We can fix it. But with every message, I felt less compelled to respond. Fix what? You can't unbreak trust. You can't erase betrayal. By noon, I turned my phone off. That night, in a cheap motel far from home, I lay awake staring at the ceiling. Memories of us flashed like cruel reminders. Our wedding day, her hand in mine, the first apartment, the nights spent dreaming of a future we thought we'd build. It all felt like someone else's life. And I realized something. She might regret. She might cry. She might beg. But none of it would change the truth. She chose someone else over me. And that was the one thing I couldn't live with. I never went back. She tried for weeks, calls, emails, letters slipped under my friend's door. But eventually, the messages slowed, then stopped. Maybe she moved on. Maybe she didn't. I didn't want to know. What I did know was this. Leaving her wasn't just about escaping her lies. It was about saving myself before I drowned in them. She came home at 6 expecting me to be asleep, waiting to swallow her excuses. Instead, she found the note. And for once, it was her turn to sit with the silence.